Rolling Stone, not too long ago, actually laid out their top 100 punk albums of all time. And I'm going to rank the top 20. Now, I will say, this is not me chastising Rolling Stone for including or excluding certain records, because we're not going over the full top 100 list, and some of the records that I do wish were in the top 20, sort of like land lower on the list. So, I mean, they are there. There is some representation, but I thought it would be interesting to sort of go over the top 20 at the very least, give some thoughts on records that I love and some that maybe I think are a little overhyped, in the greater punk sphere. Number 20 on Rolling Stone's list is an oldie and a goodie, one that I hold near and dear to my heart, not only because I think it's one of the best in the genre, but also it's a nostalgic one for me too. Green Day Dookie. I'm not a big 90s punk guy, to be honest, when it comes to like just my love of punk music in general. There's a lot of eras and decades of amazing punk music. But to me, the 90s is like one of the lowest in terms of punk music generally. There's a lot of great alternative underground rock throughout the 90s, but in terms of like straightforward, straight up punk music, the 90s not the best. But, pop punk was certainly a big trending sound that decade. And I think Green Day's Dookie is like really at the forefront, incredible record, great songwriting, good riffs, fun anthemic choruses, kind of snotty, playful, silly little attitude about it as well. And a good track list to boot. I think it's, one of the best 90s rock records, maybe not as good as like Nevermind, Nirvana, but still a really good 90s rock record all around. And I love it quite a bit. I'm feeling an A on it. I'm going to put it in the A. Bikini Kill's Reject All American. Should this record be on a list such as this? Yes, period. Or I don't even think this is the one with Rebel Girl on it. It would actually probably be that one. But I mean, do I love this record? I really don't, honestly. I feel like Bikini Kill are an essential sort of like history band, because if not for Bikini Kill, the 90s punk scene and a lot of the alternative and underground rock scene of that era would have just been a pure fucking disgusting sausage fest, and we don't want that. And they have some essential anthems and singles in the catalog that make for like some of the best American punk music in general. But like the drum work, the guitar work on this record is just okay. Like as far as like punk music standards, especially in the 90s goes, I don't really think it's that interesting. Like the best thing Bikini Kill had going for it from start to finish was Kathleen Hanna, and that's it, in my opinion. But with that being said, like, it's not like I'm not into Bikini Kill related things. I love Le Tigre, I mean, maybe that's more of like kind of an indie synth punk, synthtronic, indie-tronic kind of bias there. But like, I'll take Le Tigre every day over Bikini Kill, honestly, even if Bikini Kill is kind of like, the inception point. And, guys like Kurt Cobain loved the fuck out of Bikini Kill. I get it. I understand it. Like, contextually they're important, but like, is it a top 20 punk record of all time? To me, no. No, there are far better punk albums. And again, the vocals and the writing are great, but everything else is just okay. I would put it in the C. It's fine. Buzzcocks Singles Going Steady. What the hell is this? What are you doing? We're just doing a singles compilation for Buzzcocks? You could just put their first album in here. It's one of the better UK punk records out there. We're putting this one to the side. Rolling Stone, what are you doing? Figure your shit out. Number 17 on the list, Bad Brains. They're self-titled from 1982. I've said this before. I've said it. I'll say it again. One of my favorite punk records of all time. One of the most mind-blowing punk albums of all time. When I put this thing on the turntable, I thought my turntable was broken because I thought I was playing too fast. I was like, no way a band's playing this fast. No, they were playing that fast. The riffs are incredible. The vocal performances are insane. Just their chemistry, the speed and intensity with which they played was crazy. And the choruses were popping off too. Abandoned day say. Now look, the one thing people say about this record, the one thing people say about it is like, but what, it's got random reggae songs on it. Blah, blah. Fuck you. I like the reggae songs, okay? Maybe they come out of nowhere and they don't sound exactly like the other songs, the punk songs on the record, but I like the reggae songs, all right? They're completely fine. And is it the best reggae ever? No, but they're fine. They're fine. It's completely chill reggae. And it's honestly, I think it's kind of hilarious that they're there. Okay. And I think they're vibey. I think they're vibey. All right. I would put it in the A. It's a great record. One of the most amazing punk records out of DC ever. It's a great record. Is punk reggae just ska? Don't get me started. A 1980 release, also a debut and an amazing album too. Bam, it's Gang of Four Entertainment. Woo! Like one of the most flawless track lists of any punk record ever, in my opinion. And a great post-punk album, like the sort of combination of kind of nasty punk songwriting with lots of groovy bass and danceable beats. It's just so good. I would put it in the S, unquestionably. Just like a flawlessly written and produced record. And again, song for song, pound for pound, it's just incredible. Can't say enough good things about this album. It's a classic all the way. Have I done a classic review of this album? If not, I am really fucking up. Number 15, and also very interesting placement in this list, and not one that I necessarily disagree with either. Boom! 1973, very early proto-punk kind of record, self-titled from New York Dolls. Again, more of a proto-punk thing, not punk in the strictest sense, but like it's very raw, it's very energetic, it's very rough around the edges in terms of the riffs and vocal performances, but it's got like kind of a glam hard rock slant to it. It's very fun and very campy and very over the top. I own this record myself. I love it. I think it's a very fun album. Sometimes it's like, you know, a little too silly, like it's not as like kind of mean and angry and as nonchalant as a lot of classic punk albums tend to be, but I think it's kind of the better for it. It's very flamboyant. It's very fun. It's very over the top. It's very eccentric in its lyricism and in its energy. It's very flirty. It's very weird. It's just like a really crazy New York rock record that feels almost like ahistorical. The fact that, like, you know, you can listen to it and you'll be kind of blown away that it came out in 1973. Because not only does this album far proceed, you know, punk music, but like it proceeds a lot of like hard rock, you know, trends and vibes that, you know, you would hear like later into the 80s. It's a very interesting album for sure. I love this one. I would put it in the A. True weirdos for sure. And yeah, not even just Aerosmith, like all those hair bands totally stole their shtick and made it worse, just did a much worse fucking version of it. X is Los Angeles. For some very punk Bible album, especially when it comes to West Coast, California, anything. I'm gonna be real here. I'm not a big fan of Los Angeles from X. You know, I understand sort of like, you know, the historical sort of like significance of the album, and I see the appeal of some of the tracks off of it. But as an album experience, I just find the vocals to have very little punch. I think the guitar work and the guitar tones are like very bland. And as a record overall, it's just very short. And I don't even mean short like, oh, you know, it's a hardcore punk record and it kind of flies by because all the songs are really fast. And, you know, it's just like this breakneck speed kind of thing. It's this tour de force. You know, it's just, I think like lacking a certain amount of like length and depth for a good quality punk album, in my opinion. It's just very scant. It just feels like by the time it's over, it's like, really, it's done already? I just don't really have strong feelings about this record. And this is one of the few albums that actually makes it into, and I'm not saying that there's no Black Flag here. There definitely is Black Flag, and we're going to talk about that. But it's one of the few, like, you know, kind of early West Coast punk records that make it into the top of this list. And in my opinion, there are far more deserving bands. Far more deserving bands. No Dead Kennedys in the top, 20. No Germs in the top 20. Germs GI fucking blows this album out of the water, in my opinion. I would even rather listen to at least a couple of Fear albums over this record. Like, you know, to me, those bands have far more punch, far more guts. I'm not a big fan of X. But I mean, you know, you say crass, but I'm talking about West Coast. But yeah, no Crash in the top 20 either. Rolling Stone doesn't have the guts to put a fucking Crash album in the top 20. There's no way Penis Envy or Feeding of the 5,000 is making it into the Rolling Stone top 20 punk albums. Give me a break. All right, following this, I would be interested to know chat's thought on this. It's a band that we often don't talk about, honestly, but it's a group I've always had at least some mixed feelings on, mostly because of not the way they exist in punk music, but the way I feel like a lot of their guitar chords and their guitar playing was sort of like, obviously, and this is out of their control, but was sort of off-ramped into a lot of bad 90s alternative rock. Of course, I'm talking about Husker Du, Zen Arcade. I mean, if you tone down a lot of their guitar passages, like, you do get the blueprint for a lot of 90s radio rock, which again, totally out of the control of Bob Mould and the gang. But to me, it's like, I feel like that's almost kind of poisoned Husker Du a little bit for me, because a lot of their tracks to me do feel like a little more alternative rock than they do punk sometimes. But this album is like, still a rager all the way through. Searing guitar tones. The vocals are just absolutely enraged a lot of the time. I guess to me what sort of like does hold this record back a little bit for me is that I just wish like the drums and the grooves were doing a little bit more something, in my opinion. I do love a good punk riff, and I feel like Husker Du is like more of a band to sort of just like really lay on that chord and just have it blaring and just kind of like, searing your brain with its volume, as opposed to like really putting together like a chunky riff or something like that, I like that sort of like, more groove laden rock music, which I think is what, keeps me from like really kind of like holding this in the same kind of, level of like a Bad Brains or whatever. But it's a very good album. It's still a very good album. I might like New Day Rising a little bit more though, but still. Zen Arcade, we could put it in the B. I get why some people feel like it's A tier, or like why it's one of the best of all time. We are going Patti Smith Horses. We're putting it in the A. It's an incredible record. It's an enchanting record. It's a classic. I'm a Patti Smith apologist. I think Patti's got a lot of classics, and this is certainly one of them. Great songwriter, great vocalist, great poet, compelling artist all around. No, it is proto-punk, but honestly, so is New York Dolls. I do realize maybe there should be a little bit of a cutoff in terms of punk versus proto-punk, so on and so forth. And, don't go into this album. And if you're unfamiliar with this album, I do highly recommend it, but do not go into it expecting to hear the Ramones. This is not that kind of record. It's like more of kind of an artsy rock singer-songwriter kind of experience, but like you can still kind of hear how influential it was to punk music through, a lot of its writing. And, during some of the more aggressive moments that Patti kind of recorded early on in her career. I'm probably going to make some enemies here with this one. This is not my favorite era of Black Flag. I'm going to be real with you. Like Keith Morris Black Flag, early Black Flag, and even My War Black Flag, I will take over this. I will take over this. Like Nervous Breakdown era Black Flag, I will take over this. I will take a bullet for My War. But I'm not crazy about this album either. I feel like it's an okay, compilation of ideas from around this era, but I don't think it's great as an album. Some of the tracks and stuff that were recorded during this time period, were on EPs and stuff like that. And I feel like it kind of makes more sense within that context. But as like an album experience, I just feel like this one's okay. Like Black Flag, I get why it's the most popular because it's kind of the easiest to get into and I feel like it's kind of the most basic and meat and potatoes and straightforward when it comes to defining like what punk is and like what hardcore is for like this time period in the early 80s. But like there's better Black Flag. There's better Black Flag that came both before and after this. So I mean, I'm putting it in the C. It's going in C. I'm sorry. I'm not even putting it in the B. All right. Number 10. I don't agree with this being at 10, but I do think it should be in the top 10. London Calling. I'm not even stalling. Boom. It's in the S. I've reviewed this numerous times. I've talked this band up numerous times. As far as punk music goes, this is like one of the most perfect records. Like, sorry. The track list is fucking flawless. The album is massive. The album experience is incredible. The writing is great. The versatility is amazing. The performances, just everything. This album just has everything. Even the album cover rocks. Even the album cover's perfect. I'm sorry. There's just like, you can't say enough good things about this album. It's just an incredible record. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. It's flawless. It's flawless. It's one of the few albums that you just say, you know what? Fucking flawless. Not only should this not be ranking over the record that we just talked about, but it's Nirvana Nevermind. Nirvana Nevermind? This is grunge. You're Rolling Stone. You should know this. I mean, when it comes to grunge, few bands were as punk adjacent as Nirvana aesthetically and stylistically. I mean, you know, you had like Melvins and stuff like that, obviously, too. This should not be on the list. Get this out of here. This is cope. This is cope. They certainly paid attention to and tried to sort of live by a certain punk ethos in a way, especially Kurt. But like, it's not punk music. Get it out of my face. And I love it. It's great, but still. Got another proto-punk release over here. Bam, Stooges, Funhouse, S. Are you kidding me? This one's an S too. Like far out, hard rock, crazy mind-blowing jams, awesome riffs, raw energy, explosive, just absolutely insane. I do prefer Raw Power too. I feel like if you are making a punk list, Raw Power is way, in terms of energy and riffs and just like overall intensity, like Raw Power is way more fucking punk than Funhouse, but it's still Funhouse though. It's still Funhouse, okay? Like, come on, man. It's still Funhouse. You can't fucking shit on Funhouse, man. But yeah, just the nastiness, the rawness, the bluesiness of this record. So many incredible things to like, and just an amazing listen overall. Talking about this, actually, I haven't listened to it in a long time from front to back, like put it on the turntable. This is kind of making me actually want to do that. I'm curious as to what chat's thoughts on this one will be, because I know this release has become more polarizing in recent years, but boom! Never mind the bollocks. Chat, where are you at? I want to see the chat grade on this first. A, B, E, classic, not my choice. F, it's history, overrated. B, 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 B. Like, look, I'll say this. Sid Vicious sucked. Johnny Rotten's an asshole. And as far as like classic punk releases of the 70s and like cutoff being 1980, like quality-wise, it's not the best, but like, I feel like it's good enough though. Honestly, I was just listening to it earlier today in preparation for this video. It's still good. It's still good. It's still good. I think it's still good. The guitar tones are searing. The riffs hit hard. The tunes are anthemic. It's really nasty. It's really snide. It's really snarky. It's really irreverent. It's everything that I feel like a disgusting punk record should be. You know, the tunes are there, in my opinion. The tunes are there. Like, after a while, does Johnny Rotten's vocal phrasing get a little obnoxious? Yes, but I mean, that's why we have the B tier, because it's good, but it's like not amazing. Boom, boom. Where's this going? Predict it. Tell me now. Where's this going? Where's this going? Where am I putting this? Not what you think about it. Where am I putting it? That's right. That's right. You called it. It's going in the ass. Of course, I'm talking about Wire, Pink Flag. Amazing album. Incredible record. Incredible band. Really good art punk album. Not only are the tunes on here great, super influential to hardcore down the road. Minor Threat covered their song 12XU. Wire really putting on display this kind of like idea of artsy minimalist punk music. Like, how much can you strip a rock song back? You know, punk was all about kind of rawness and simplicity, and Wire was just all about figuring out like, okay, with that in mind, how much can we strip it back? How simple can we make it? How much can we break the idea of a punk rock song down to its barest elements and still have it function and still have it work? This record is incredible, in my opinion. Just one of the best punk albums and one of the best rock albums of the 70s, in my opinion. The simplicity and the effectiveness of this album, despite, you know, how much they kind of break things down, is just so good. Boom! Dig me out. Slater Kinney. one of the best kind of rock and punk albums of the 90s when it comes to like music in this lane. Yeah, there are later era Sleater-Kinney records that I like a lot more. Obviously The Woods, but The Woods is not like a punk album, honestly. There are moments where this record does get on my nerves a little bit because the mix is like a little thin. You know, I wish there was like a little bit more beef and heft to it, but still the vocals are amazing. The performances are awesome. And the guitar work is still like really interesting. If you are looking to get into Sleater-Kinney, and I feel like they are kind of like, you know, one of those like, you know, Bible underground, you know, femme-led bands that were super influential on the punk scene. This record is a great introduction. I mean, again, I'm more of the type to take a bullet for The Woods, but that's like a far more weird, abstract, dark, kind of brooding indie, almost kind of, you know, flavored record. This one's a lot more straightforward, a lot more punky, a lot more hard hitting. I would put it in the B. It's a solid one. It's a very good one. How is this at number 4? This at number 4? Over London Calling? Why is this at number 4? This 4? I feel like the choruses and the messaging on this record are just like mind-numbingly, annoyingly simple. Like, I'm so bored of you. Like, I got to the point where when I was young, every single time I would hear that song playing at a punk club or at a show, I'd want a TOS. I would want a full fucking TOS right then and there. Clash City Rocker! Like, ugh. The songs just lose their flavor so quick, I guess is like my prime issue with the record. There's still cool tracks on it. Love Remote Control, you know, love like the more kind of like reggae leaning songs and ska leaning songs on the record. But like in the top 10 and Over London Calling, in my opinion, is crazy. Like there is a part of me that's also like, okay, wait, pause. It is history, just like Nevermind the Bollocks. Like you can't flush it totally down the toilet, but like, you know, I don't hate it, but like I do not. And I own a copy of this record too, you know, and I would never throw it away, and I would never fucking sell it either. Because you know what? I played that record myself to death, as I also contributed to making myself sick of this album, but like, I just get nothing out of this album these days. Whereas like, London Calling, even the Clash's second record, I could still put on now and still get quite a bit out of it. I'm almost like halfway between B and C. It's okay. It's fine. Like the Clash put out much better stuff. I'm committing to Clash for C, because what is this doing in the top 4? Get it out of the top 4. I'm committing, because right now we have to make room for the Minutemen over here. The Minutemen. Double nickels on the dime. Chat, what do you guys think of this record? What do you want to score this? S. Wow. Wow. S all the way. I'm going to say this. There are songs on this that I fucking love. And on top of that, as a bass player, as a bassist, like Mike Watt is one of the GOATs. Like the bass lines on this are incredible, really funky, influential. There's like loads of rock bands that came after these guys on the alt rock scene in the late 90s and the late 80s, early 90s that like would not have some of the bass lines that they did if not for like Mike Watt. And if you haven't heard this album, I highly recommend that you do listen to it. With that being said, and for those of you who've heard this record and love it and are, you know, lobbying for it in the chat, like I'm going to say this, you know, push back on me. Tell me what you think here. Okay. And it just sort of dawned on me right now at this late date that the chat has not been on the screen the entire time. And there it is. I put it on there. Do you guys not feel like this album is inconsistent as hell and the low key moments just are a bit of a drag, and that 74 minutes is maybe just a bit too much for the runtime of something like this? And I'm sure that you got like, I'm waiting to see if like people are typing away and just like, I'm waiting for a paragraph to pop up in chat. Be like, actually, fuck you, because no, it does have history. No, it is true. And look, I'm not saying we're going to drop this in the D tier or anything, you know, but I'm just saying like as an album experience, like to me, it's not A tier. It's not S tier. Like I'm not like on the edge of my seat during every second of Double Nickels on the Dime. Like, whoa, I can't fucking believe this. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is something that you could whittle down to its best moments, you know? So, I mean, I'm not advocating for throwing this in the trash. Like that would be crazy. I'm not saying that. One of the most creative and unique and standout bands on the American punk scene for sure, because who the fuck else was willing to do what Minutemen were doing? I feel like as an album experience, it's missing something. You know, it's just like a little too bloated. I'd put it in the B. I think top 3 is a little crazy, especially since Minor Threat is not in the top 10 or in the top 20. This next one is one that I have a lot of love for. Bam. X-Ray Specs. Germ-Free Adolescence. I would put it in the A. One of the best and versatile punk albums to come out on the UK scene super early on. Very fun record. Almost feels a little futuristic for 1978, honestly. And then bam, last one. This is the #1 album. Of course it is. The self-titled Ramones record. The Ramones sound can get a little bland. I will say that. But this is one of their best crops of songs, hands down. Nearly every track is a banger. The track list is nearly flawless in terms of like highlights, in terms of career bops, in terms of, you know, general punk anthems and classics. But again, it's like their sound does run a little bland, you know, as simple as the riffs and drums and everything is supposed to be. Like sometimes it does run like a little too unimaginative, but #1 is a little excessive. Like number one punk album of all time. I don't know. I'd probably put it more in the B. Just because that's all where we got room now, you see. All right, well, that's the top 20 of this thing. That's the top 20. It should have been London Calling. London Calling should have been higher than this, that's for sure.